Hi, my name is Ashton Richards and I'm a sales consultant with Veith Consulting. Today I'm going to go over the volunteer module a bit with you. So to start with, we're going to go under the configuration options here, scroll to the bottom and click the volunteer button. And here there are two tabs. There's general options and the custom verbiage. To begin with, in the general tabs, we have display past volunteer sessions on volunteer calendar. By default, the volunteering calendar won't show any sessions from the past. If you enable this option, it'll show everything on the calendar regardless of what date the session was actually set with. The next option here is default to list view. If this option is enabled, users will be taken directly to the list view of the volunteer sessions rather than the calendar page that they would normally see. The next option, display other volunteers information. If you enable this, then members who are signing up for a volunteer session can see the names of other people who have already signed up for that same session when they're looking at viewing or when they're looking at the volunteer events or the calendar during their sign up time. Allow volunteers to cancel their time slot registrations. By default, members themselves can't cancel their own volunteering registrations after it's been confirmed. They have to message an admin and the admin has to remove it for them. But if you enable this option instead here, then the members themselves can cancel it without having to notify an admin ahead of time. Allow volunteers to leave comments when registering. If you enable this option, then when the volunteers sign up for time slots, then they can leave comments about it, and those comments will be included on their confirmation emails. If you choose to allow them to do this, then you're going to have this comment character limit that you can set up. So you can put however many characters you want in here, or you can just leave it at 0 and it'll be set for unlimited. The login page sign up option here, if you enable this, a link for the volunteering module will appear on the login form that non-members are directed to when they're viewing those volunteering events. Force member type, if you enable this, then the sign up link that appears on the login page is restricted to the designated member type. So you could go through here and you can pick a specific member type if you wanted, and only that member type can sign up. The login page verbiage option. If you want to change the verbiage for that sign up link, you just click here to update the verbiage. You just put it in this CK editor, the same as what we have across the rest of the site. And this would overwrite whatever default verbiage you have. If you're curious what your default verbiage is, then you can always click this link down here at the bottom. And any kind of default verbiage would show up here. Moving into the next section, the custom verbiage and alternate title options. These are all pretty self-explanatory. So main volunteering page verbiage, just on the main volunteering page you can change whatever you want to have shown here. Same thing as before, standard CK editor, you can look at the default verbiage if you want. You can change the verbiage on the calendar page for volunteering, the list view page, the calendar verbiage page for my volunteering, the list view page for my volunteering, the sign up page. Then you can also change the verbiage in the confirmation email and the confirmation page. Then if you ever have questions, you can always come back here and you can click on this blue information icon for the general options and it'll tell you what exactly those do. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to the volunteer module section. So under events and volunteer management, we're going to go under volunteer sessions. This time under actions, we're going to click on volunteers here. So under this, you'll see who's registered for a volunteer opportunity, what opportunity or opportunities they've elected to volunteer for. And there's an action column where you can go through and edit or message. You'll also notice under opportunities, there's another edit pencil. If you click the edit pencil for an opportunity that a member has signed up for, you're going to notice that there's an event name, the volunteer opportunity, the description, the start date, and then a start and end time. The only thing that you can't edit here is the my hours earned. You can go through here and you can edit how many hours you believe that that volunteer earned. So if they left early, you don't have to award them the full time frame. If you don't think it's necessary, you can come in here and you can change this later on. The other edit pencil here under actions, this is going to show you the same thing that a member would be seeing when they go through to register for opportunities for an event. So you'd see the volunteer session name, the event name, the date, who the volunteer coordinator is, and then you can go through and look at the different time slots that have been registered for. So for all of these, it'll have what available time slots, any comments that they can put in, anything like that. And when you get through with changing this, if you need to change anything, so if the member reached out to you to make changes or cancel, you go through, you make these changes for them, then you just click on complete sign up here at the bottom. So that's the other option there under the volunteer sessions. The next section here is volunteer categories. So for these categories, basically you can go through and you can create your own category, and it'll just make it easier to sort through when members are going through looking at the calendar saying, I only want to look at this kind of volunteer category. They can go through and select that, and then whatever volunteer opportunities follow that category that you already set up in your setting up for that volunteer session, those will be listed out so that it's easier for members to find what it is they're looking for. The next section here is going to be volunteer permissions. So for this, it's going to have the member name listed here on the left, the node here in the middle, which this you don't have to worry about. This is more for our programmers to look into if something has to be looked at. The permissions section, which is going to list if the member is a volunteer coordinator for an event, any event or multiple events. And the last column here is going to be actions, where you can go through and edit it. So if you want to change permissions for a listed member here, you would just click the edit pencil here. It'll list out all of the volunteer sessions that you have available right now. If you want someone to become a volunteer coordinator for one of these that you already have listed, you would just select their name, come in here, and you could just check a box and then do save permission, and they become a volunteer coordinator for that. If you want to remove their volunteer coordinator status, you just uncheck that box and click Save Permissions. And that would be what shows up here under Permissions. If you want to add a new member here, you would just up here at the top click this Add Member, and then you just go through and you select any of the names here. Then you would go through and you just select which volunteer session you want them to become a volunteer coordinator for and click Save Permissions. And with that, they would show up on this list as well. The last section here is reports. As an admin, you're going to see these three reports. You'll have individual volunteer hours, all volunteer hours, and all volunteer detail report. At the top here, you can select an individual member, and you can look at between their two dates and just see any kind of volunteer hours that they have. So if we run a report for this, you'll see that for this member, they don't have anything because they haven't signed up for any volunteer opportunities, no time slots, so they have 0 hours earned currently. And this is just going to scour your entire database. You can find any member that you have. For the all volunteers hours reports, for this, it's going to be similar to the individual, but instead of selecting who, it's just going to look at everyone. And you would just set up your two dates and run the report. So in this case, the time frame needs to be adjusted a bit. So with this, you'll see some of the members that have volunteer sessions coming up or happened last year, and the total hours that they earned with their volunteer sessions. You also can down here at the bottom click this CSV export button, and here it'll just show you what was earned. Same thing as what you saw before. Then at the bottom here, all volunteers detail report. So this is going to be similar to the hours report, but in this case you can run it as a PDF or a CSV. So we'll just do same time frame here, leave it as PDF, run the report, and here, same thing. It'll list out what events it is, the event date, the coordinator, volunteers, how many hours they earned, if they included any comments. It'll just go through and list out all of those. CSV is going to be the exact same as the CSV export for the all volunteers hours report.